We are here with Unemployed Man, who just had a book released chronicling your adventures. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day to meet with us.
Thank you. As you know, unemployed folks are very busy, so I'm very happy to be here.
So tell us how your adventures, your book, The Adventures of Unemployed Man, came to be.
Well, you know, it's really the story of everyday heroes and the millions of us who find ourselves either out of work or struggling to survive, who are battling against economic supervillains of tremendous power that have not only taken over our economy, but much of our political system as well.
And so now you were approached then by Eric Orgen and Gan Golan to chronicle your exploits, or how did this come to be?
Well, I know that their work is very much based on reality. So as much as it's fantastical fiction and superhero struggles in mass capes and tights, they really did a lot of work to interview actual people like myself and try and find the kind of inner superhero that lurks within everyone who's out there right now and struggling to find their way.
So clearly you are Unemployed Man. What other superheroes were in this book as well?
Well, throughout the adventure, I actually meet up with a number of other heroes for hard times, including Wonder Mother, who is maybe like Wonder Woman, only she has to fight with a baby strapped to her chest. I think many working mothers can probably relate to that experience. We also have Plan B, who's an 80-year-old sidekick that can't retire because his savings were misinvested by the, not the Joker, but the broker. And there's also the Master of Degrees, who's a perennial grad student superhero who's super overeducated for any of the jobs that are currently available. So what happens is that I actually meet all these other heroes and learn about the many different ways that people are struggling right now in this economy.
And so as you meet with them and as you struggle with them, your adventures are chronicled by quite a host of artists. How did these artists all come to be associated with your storytelling?
Well, we felt that a story that was both meant to be comedic, but at the same time have a tremendous amount of heart and soul to it would best be told in the classic eras of the 1950s and 60s, the golden and silver ages of comics, which in my opinion and the opinion of the writers was really the best eras of comics. And rather than trying to imitate that style, they felt that they might as well try and find the real deal. And so they tracked down those artists who are still working today that used to work during that era. So, for example, the main artist was Ramona Fradon, who's in the Comic Book Hall of Fame and is now actually 84 years old. And she used to do Aquaman and Plastic Man and Metamorpho. We also had Rick Veitch telling the story, and Mike Netzer came out of retirement to work on the story, as well as Terry Beatty and Joe Rubenstein. A lot of classic comic book legends, really an all-star team, I would say, worked on this book to give it a truly authentic feel so that it looks really like no other comic book looks today.
Well, just like you are like no other hero today.
That's true. That's true. We are trying to tell a story that's really different than most of what's out there, and it's a great story not just for people who like superheroes and like comic books, but people who just really like a great story.
Now, according to all the economists, we are now out of the Great Recession. The economic recovery is upon us. Right. So, Unemployed Man, does that mean that your job is done?
Well, you know, economists have a very interesting perspective on life. In the story, there are actually a number of economists who are actually economalians, like Alien Greenspan. And the interesting thing is they see the economy really as just a series of numbers, whereas the rest of us are living it as a real, everyday human experience. So anyone can tell you that the economists are in fact wrong, that this great recession is in fact not over, and that we have a really long way to go. Now, if you're a corporate CEO or an executive, you know, the recession, if it happened to you at all, was very short-lived. In fact, it might have been very profitable. So for those who are, you know, at that level of society and in fact funding a lot of the think tanks and economists' tenures that are producing this idea that somehow the recession is over, for them the recession might be over. But for the rest of us, we're still out there fighting every day doing our best we can for ourselves, for our families, and teaming up with all the other everyday heroes, just trying to survive, really.
So, as far as you know, Unemployed Man, will there be other adventures either chronicling your further exploits or the exploits of some of the other superheroes that are out there fighting for you and me?
Well, this book is actually just the tip of the iceberg. Every single character in the book clearly has so much story that they have left to tell. There's characters like Phantasma, who's perhaps the first undocumented immigrant superhero ever in comics, and they just in the book they show their own origin story, their own page from their own comics for just a brief instant, and clearly there could be an entire comic devoted to each one of them. So we would love to see these characters have a life beyond the book and be out in the real world participating in real social movement and social justice struggles, and so there's a lot in there, and we hope that it continues.
All right, well, thank you very much for meeting with us. We'll let you get back to your worthy cause.
Right on. Stay strong, people.